Right. So we'll give it another minute and then we'll make a start. Everybody see the screen?
Yep.
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 Hi, Susan.
Hi.
Hey, Sue.
Hi.
Somebody called iPad. Hi, iPad. You are joined. Hi, Jenny. Right.
Hi, Rebecca and Kathy. Hi, Jenny.
Right, I think we'll make a start. So it's time to make a start. So thank you everybody for joining us this evening. It's wonderful that you can be here. And as we sort of draw a close to Menopause Awareness Month, I think it's really important that we carry on the conversations about menopause because, you know, it's throughout the year that we all need support and guidance. So that's why we're here today, to share our knowledge and our advice and give you the tools to help you to navigate your menopause through a holistic approach. So the topic for this evening is holistic therapies for menopause. And I will now introduce you to our guest panel. So we've got a fantastic panel of experts here today who are going to share their wisdom and knowledge and advice. So if you could each introduce yourselves. So Courtney, do you want to make a start and introduce yourself?
Yeah, that's great. Hi, I'm Courtney. I'm from TRE Surrey, and I'm a TRE practitioner and a quantum energy coach, just helping the body regulate the nervous system and bringing you back down to sort of baseline, just enabling you to feel a bit more grounded, more calm, and just, yeah, with this, rejuvenate that spring back in your step.
Great, thank you, Courtney. Nigel?
Hi, yeah, I'm Nigel. I'm a breathing instructor, and as it says there, a meditation and forest bathing guide. So I use breathing predominantly to help people stimulate and find more time in the parasympathetic system, the rest and digest part of our autonomic nervous system. And yeah, just to find ways of relaxing, and meditation helps, as we know. And forest bathing is a great way to go out and just enhance and release stress and fill us with lots of the good things that make us feel better.
Thanks, Nigel. And Nicole?
Hi, everyone. So I'm Nicole. I'm a clinical hypnotherapist. I specialise in working with stress and anxiety. And I use hypnotherapy to help people learn how to relax and to retrain their brain so that they can feel much better able to cope with stressful situations, or to feel less anxious, or to feel more self-confident, which helps you in turn to cope with life generally.
Great, thank you, Nicole. And I'm Sally Sidani Wilkinson, and I help women improve their menopause symptoms through nutrition and lifestyle. So I'm a health coach and a certified menopause wellbeing practitioner. So if everybody could mute your Zooms just so that we don't get any interruptions, that would be great. If you've got questions, please do pop them in the chat box. We'll be answering them as we go, and then we've saved 10 minutes at the end for a formal Q&A. So please do ask your questions. We'd love to be able to help you. So just to start off with, I wanted to change the narrative around menopause, because it is a natural part of life. You know, there's a lot of scaremongering around menopause. There's a lot of myths around menopause, and it shouldn't be something that we fear. It is a natural part of life. So I like to talk about it being the second spring. Now, the Japanese call it the second spring. And that's a lovely way of looking at it, because it's much more positive and optimistic way of looking at the second half of our lives. So it's like we're butterflies. We've had our caterpillar part of our lives. We're now in our chrysalis. A chrysalis is our menopause, and we're going to emerge from our chrysalis and emerge from our menopause as beautiful butterflies with all of those opportunities ahead of us. And it's a really nice time of life to just to rethink what we want from the second half of our lives. So, you know, taking control of our health, taking control of our menopause, and really embracing this time of life to rebalance our life and really think about what we want to do and what the opportunities ahead of us. So hopefully that's a positive start to the session. So I wanted to start with a little background of what the menopause is and what causes menopause symptoms. So menopause and perimenopause, there's actually over 40 different symptoms, everything from emotional, psychological and physical symptoms. And each of you will experience different symptoms at different times and different severities. So that's why a personalised approach is really important. Now, what's causing your menopause symptoms are hormone imbalances. So it's first of all our 3 sex hormones, so estrogen, progesterone and testosterone, and they decline with age. So estrogen, for example, you can see it there fluctuating greatly. And estrogen has 400 functions in the body. So when estrogen is declining and fluctuating, that's why you might experience symptoms all over your body. And then progesterone starts to decline more slowly and gradually. And progesterone is responsible for helping us to relax, and it calms the brain. So when our progesterone is declining, we might experience symptoms such as poor sleep, poor concentration, mood swings, irritability. And then testosterone is the 3rd sex hormone. And when that declines quite gradually, that can cause low libido, low confidence, brain fog, and mood swings. And typically, you know, we do talk a lot about our sex hormones, estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone, when we talk about menopause, but there's also 2 other hormones that play a vital role in terms of triggering menopause symptoms or making them worse. And that's cortisol and insulin. So cortisol is our stress hormone. So when we're stressed, whether that's a fight with our family member, or whether it's at work, or whether it's stuck in a traffic jam, stress raises our cortisol levels, and we go into fight or flight mode. And Courtney's going to tell us a bit more about that in detail later. What happens when our cortisol is released because we are stressed? It suppresses all of our other bodily functions. So it suppresses our digestive system, it suppresses our immune system, it suppresses our metabolism. But importantly today for our discussion about menopause, it suppresses our reproductive system and therefore diminishes our sex hormones, estrogen, progesterone and testosterone even further. And that's why when you're stressed, you might trigger your menopause symptoms or make them worse. And then the 5th hormone that's really important to understand is insulin. And insulin is our fat storage hormone. And what happens is when we are stressed, or when we eat sugary foods, or when we eat refined carbohydrates, it can cause this blood sugar roller coaster that you can see on the slide. So it causes a blood sugar spike, which causes insulin to be released. And insulin is our fat storage hormone. So the insulin takes the glucose out of the blood, moves it to the muscles and liver, where it's used for energy, and any excess is used and stored as fat. And what happens is when the glucose is taken out of the blood, it causes a blood sugar crash. And that's when you might experience things like feeling hangry, getting those energy slumps in the afternoon, getting cravings, particularly sugar cravings in the afternoon, feeling low or tired. These can all be because of this blood sugar crash. And at that point, cortisol is released. And again, as we mentioned previously, cortisol is responsible for suppressing our sex hormones and therefore making our menopause symptoms worse. So how can we improve symptoms? Well, I take a holistic approach, so looking at the entire body to improve symptoms and improve stress. And these are the 5 key foundational elements to doing that: nutrition, movement, detoxification, self-care, and sleep. Now, we don't have time to go into each of them today, but please do reach out if you'd like more information on these, because it really does take a personalized approach. So on my programs, my health coaching programs, I go through each of these 5 pillars with my clients one-on-one to personalize it to their health history, to their symptoms, and to their lifestyle, so that they have a holistic and personalized plan. I do want to talk about self-care, because these are tools that you can easily do yourself at home. Now, menopause is a really stressful time of life. You know, we're probably juggling a million things, whether that's career, children, elderly parents. You know, generally, we're all juggling a lot of different responsibilities, and it can be stressful. Not only that, but our diminishing hormones also cause things like low mood, anxiety, irritability, low confidence, low self-esteem. And all of these play a big part in how we're feeling and our mental health. So self-care during menopause is absolutely crucial. Now is the time to take care of yourself, put yourself first. So find things that you enjoy, that relaxes you. So it might be taking an Epsom salt bath, for example, because Epsom salts contain magnesium, which is really relaxing for the body. And also the bath itself is really relaxing, and it will help you to sleep, it will help to relax your muscles, and it's just a really calming environment. Or you might enjoy journaling. Journaling is a great way of getting things off your mind by putting it down on paper, or giving gratitude. What are you grateful for? Making a note of that, and that can lift your mood. Or yoga and meditation. Yoga is not only fantastic for exercise, it's also great to reduce your cortisol levels that we talked about. And it also supports melatonin, which is our sleep hormone. So a nice relaxing yoga session can really help you sleep as well. Or it might be seeing your friends and family. You know, a good giggle and a chat with your friends is a great stress buster and helps you to relax. Or just finding ways of what helps you to relax, whether that's being out in nature, being on your own. You find what works for you, because it's really important to put yourself first, because you can't help other people. You know, you've probably heard the expression of, you know, put your own oxygen mask on first. Well, that's so true in menopause. You can't help other people if you're struggling yourself. So please don't suffer in silence, and do put yourself first, and make sure you've got lots of tips to help you relax. So I'll now hand over to Courtney, who will tell us a bit about tree for menopause.
Hi, everyone. So lovely to see you all. I'm just going to talk to you about trauma and tension releasing exercises known as TRE, just to help alleviate menopause symptoms. Thanks, Sally. So what is TRE? And how the stress enters our body. So TRE stands for trauma and tension releasing exercises. And our bodies actually have a natural ability to downregulate the nervous system by invoking a tremor. Just like animals in the wild, displaying a strong connection to their bodies, particularly when faced with danger. Like if you see a herd of zebras being chased by a lion, and unfortunately the lion grabs one, the rest of the herd literally run 50 to 100 meters away, and will literally just shiver. You'll see a shiver run down from their mane all the way down to their hooves and their tail. And they can carry on grazing as if nothing's happened. They're able to down-regulate their nervous system, releasing all those stress hormones that came through. And the tremor is able to release the fear, the adrenaline, stress hormones, deep-seated contraction, pain, etc., to bring the body back down to a stable level. But as us humans have been, we've forgotten how to do this. It actually sits dormant in our system, the ability to shake it off, basically. But we've been socially conditioned to live in this beautiful world that we live in and within society. So we can't actually execute our fight or flight response in the ways that animals do. So we have to hold everything in. We have to suppress our emotions. We have to bite our tongue at work. We have to count to 10 with our children. And all of this just builds up inside of us, right? And we hold on to the stress and tension until we ride up the bell curve, which I'll get to just now. And what happens is it presents itself in the body with aches and pains, anxiety, depression, and all other symptoms that are plagued by modern man. When our bodies are faced with stress or tension, we make a subconscious decision on how we deal with the stress. We either enter fight or flight, or we completely overwhelmed and move into freeze. And all of these are completely normal for the body to respond in either of these forms. But when we're stuck in one of those, it's very hard for us to engage our parasympathetic nervous system and bring us back down to a more balanced space. For instance, if you've had a car accident, there's an association every time you get in the car. And so the body stays in that loop, that mind-body loop. And it's continuously switched on, which continually sends stress hormones into the systems if we're still stuck in that space. So the goal of TRE is to actually give completion to that fight or flight response and bring the body down to a lower state of activation. So the TRE actually evokes a neurogenic tremor, which runs all the way up the spine to the brain stem. And the mind-body loop sends signals from the brain to the body to say that we're safe, and the body lets go of the contraction, which sends messages to the brain, which then stops sending the adrenaline and the cortisol into the system. And the body's actually able to get rid of or send it to the liver and kidneys to be moved out of the system. Thanks, Sally. Next slide. So this is the polyvagal curve by Stephen Porges, and I love showing all my clients this because it just really shows exactly how our nervous system works. And if your mother had a beautiful pregnancy and your birthing process was non-eventful and very relaxing and quick, you would have your nervous system on baseline, just above the word social engagement. So you'll see that black line that oscillates up and down. And that's an area of social engagement. You're filled with joy, you're grounded, you're present, you're curious, you're open, you're mindful, and you're filled with lots of compassion as well. But it's impossible for us to be one emotion. It's completely impossible. So even as a baby, you would get irritated or frustrated if your nappy was dirty or if you were hungry. And as soon as your mom would sort you out, it would bring you back down to baseline. So it's normal to oscillate down there. But what happens is maybe our mothers were stressed during our pregnancy with us. We've been marinating in their womb for 9 months, so we have to match our mother's nervous system. So we would match our mother's nervous system wherever she is, maybe halfway up at that fight or flight space. And whichever way, I mean, most of us execute all three types of sympathetic arousal. Those, when we go into flight, we start off with concern, then we move up to worry, then anxiety, fear, and eventually panic. And in fight mode, we start off with frustration, irritation, then anger and rage. And when eventually what happens is we suppress everything living in modern day society. So that frustration or that irritation we just hold on to, we don't let it out. So we just keep going up, depends on whatever else is happening to us along our journey. But then we reach this tipping point, this dotted line at the top there, and it'll take one tiny thing. You might have had a stressful week, but today the sun is shining and you've had a good sleep and you wake up and you think, oh, I can do this. But it'll take one tiny thing to send you over the edge. Like you can't find your car keys, or your children are fighting, or maybe you've had a hot flush and you've got to now change your shirt again. So all of these things push us over the edge, and then it sends you into freeze. And freeze is a normal space to be in. Most humans actually operate from there. They can do to-do lists. They can get things done. They're completely numbed out. They dissociate from their body completely. And this is the way the body preserves itself. It can't send stress hormones, your cortisol and adrenaline into the system all the time. So it sends you into freeze. and your body naturally tries to come down out of freeze. But every time it does, you go through this dotted line again, and you come back into fight or flight, and all the emotions that you've suppressed, and you hit a space of flooding. So all those emotions you didn't want to deal with come rushing back again. And what happens is we then use substances or social media, shopping, anything that keeps us occupied, and literally sends us back into freeze again. And literally, there's actually another graph I've got that shows you the oscillation around where it says deactivation, just above there, and we go between freeze and fight and flight all the time. And the problem with staying in that space is we end up creating dis-ease or disharmony in the body. And that's where most of our modern day diseases come from, because we've been living in the rat race for far too long. So the beauty about doing TRE is the longer you do it and the more frequently you do it, you're actually able to bring that deep-seated stress and tension and contraction that's sitting in the body just through tremoring all the way back down to baseline, which is where we all want to be. So TRE takes time. It's like all modalities. It's like peeling of an onion. The body will only allow you to go as far as you need to, wherever you are. It's very empowering, it's very invigorating, and it's very restorative. It brings us into that rest and digest space. And when you're in that space, the body can rejuvenate and can repair cells. As I've mentioned, it's a neurogenic tremor, which works with the brain cell, sending the mind-body loop into that space of safety, which makes you feel much better as well. And it's just a series of exercises, just stretching and stressing the lower limbs of the body, and then putting you in a position, lying on your back with your legs bent, and just evoking the tremor, just working with the psoas muscle. Everybody tremors completely differently. There's no right or wrong, but I generally work with people for 4 to 6 sessions, just so that they can understand how their body tremors, because it's so unique, right? We never have been taught to tremor, but it's very similar to a shiver effect. You know, when you're freezing cold and your body starts to shiver, and when you've also got a fever, your body starts to shiver. That's your body's own self mechanism to regulate your body temperature. We use the same mechanism to regulate the nervous system. So how TRE helps with menopause, obviously with reducing stress. If your nervous system can come down to baseline, the less stress, and then the more regulated your hormones will be. Obviously, emotional well-being, you'll feel less stressed, so you'll be more happy in your own skin as well. Obviously, improved sleep, like Sally mentioned earlier. Sorry, that's supposed to say hormone regulation, bringing it back down. When your nervous system is closer to baseline, your hormones and your whole body can be regulated. Your hormones will be regulated as well, because you're in a rest and digest space. Obviously, you'll have a lot more physical comfort, less aches and pains. There's a lot more enhanced body awareness. When we're more relaxed, we're able to tune into our body, able to feel our toes, feel where the aches and pains are. Obviously, empowerment, because you actually are able to allow your body to downregulate. And obviously, this also leads to greater resilience and reduced menopause symptoms, and obviously increases the mind-body connection as well. Thank you, Sally.
Oh, thank you so much, Courtney. That was amazing. And I have done quite a few of Courtney's classes online, and it's a really incredible feeling. It was really relaxing, rejuvenating. I just felt really uplifted afterwards. So I'd highly recommend those classes.
Thanks, Sally.
Nicole?
Thanks, Sally, and thanks, Courtney. That was so interesting. I'm really keen to find out more about TRE, because it sounds absolutely fascinating. So I'm Nicole. I'm a hypnotherapist, and I work with people on a one-to-one basis, and also in groups, to use hypnotherapy to improve well-being. So I'll just explain a little bit about hypnotherapy to start with, because quite often people don't really know what it is. So hypnotherapy is a type of therapy that uses your body's natural ability to go into trance to make positive changes to the way that you think, act and behave and respond to situations. Now, trance, which sounds a bit scary, is a really natural way of being. And it's a bit like that feeling you get when you're scrolling through your phone or engrossed in a film or a good book, or just kind of daydreaming. So it's a really natural state of being that we drift in and out of all the time. And when you're in that nice sort of daydreamy state, your rational kind of thinking mind is a little bit dampened down, and your subconscious is much more awake and receptive. And it's very receptive to positive suggestions and visualization and ideas. So what we do with hypnotherapy is when we're working with somebody, we get them into that lovely relaxed state by using a guided muscle relaxation. So we talk through all the muscles in your body to relax you physically, and then use a guided visualization to relax you even further. And then we can use suggestions, talk to the subconscious to make the changes, the positive changes that people want to make. So some people often ask me, can I be hypnotized against my will? Can you hypnotize me without me knowing about it? And the answer to that is, well, no, you can't. It's a very collaborative process. So you are working with your therapist to make the changes you want to make. But it can be really effective in the kind of issues that are run by the subconscious. So one of the things that hypnotherapy is really effective for is working with stress. So stress, as we've been talking about, is a physical and emotional and subconscious reaction. And one way of thinking of it is the way your body reacts when you're feeling overwhelmed or very highly anxious. So we've got lots and lots of stimulation, lots of things to worry about. Your brain goes into fight or flight, but it kind of gets stuck there. It stays in fight or flight mode. So you're constantly on edge, looking around for danger, unable to relax, and your whole body tenses up, and you're flooded with all the chemicals and hormones that Sally and Courtney were talking about. And this also causes us to have lots of anxious thoughts. It's very difficult to think positively. It's hard to think rationally. It can be hard to concentrate, can make sleep really difficult. So all of those things are going on. So what we can do with hypnotherapy is physically relax the body. So we stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system that Courtney was talking about, where your whole system is able to calm down and start to release some of those chemicals. But more importantly, we can give your brain the message that it can stand down from hypervigilance, it can relax. We can increase self-confidence. So when you're feeling very anxious or very stressed, your self-confidence can take a real hit. So we can use hypnotherapy to really increase your self-confidence, help you feel a lot better about things, and to feel able to cope with whatever's happening. So whether that's all the life stresses going on with your children or your parents that you might have caring responsibilities for, or whether it's being really busy at work or career changes, or whether it's the stress of menopause symptoms themselves, worrying about, am I going to have a hot flash in the middle of a presentation, those kinds of things. So we can really work with your subconscious to give you the message that you can cope with whatever happens. Whatever happens, you can deal with it, and you'll be able to stay calm and relaxed and in control. Thank you. So many of the symptoms that Sally was talking about, we can help with hypnotherapy. So as I said, we can help with stress, with anxiety to help you feel much less anxious. Hypnotherapy can really help you to sleep better at night, so either to get to sleep at night or to stay asleep throughout the night and not wake up. And hypnotherapy can even help with your menopause symptoms to help reduce the number of hot flushes or night sweats that you have. So that in turn will help you to sleep better too. And it can help to boost your self-confidence, because you can start to really lose confidence with the drop in testosterone, as Sally was saying. So we can help you to increase your self-confidence using hypnotherapy. And we can stop all those negative thoughts that you might have going round and round in your mind. I can't do this, I can't cope with that, I'm never going to be able to do this. We can turn off that constant washing machine type brain and give you a much calmer, more relaxed way of approaching the world. So I just wanted to share a bit of a tip with you. It's not quite hypnotherapy, but it's a tip you can do yourself, sort of self-hypnosis that can really help if you're feeling really stressed or anxious and you just need a little bit of a break. And it's something we call a safe space visualization. So it's really simple to do, and you can do it in a few minutes. So if you put your feet in a nice grounded position, and just relax and breathe gently, and then think about a place where you feel happy and calm and safe. This could be a real place, maybe somewhere you've been before, or somewhere you'd like to go, or even an imaginary place, somewhere you can imagine would be lovely, like a desert island or a lovely forest. And it can be inside or it can be outside, so anywhere you like. And just take a few moments to really immerse yourself in that special place, to imagine everything you can see and hear, what you can touch and smell and feel. And just take a few moments to really be in that place. And it gives you just a bit of a break from what's going on in the world and gives you a little bit of an escape route for a few minutes. And helps your brain to relax. So you can do that at any time when you're feeling a little bit stressed out. Thank you, Sally.
Oh, thank you so much, Nicole. That's really interesting. It's incredible, actually, isn't it? The power of hypnotherapy for so many different symptoms. So thank you for sharing that. We've had one question, which is, how long does the treatment take to see results?
For hypnotherapy?
Yeah.
Yep. So it does depend on the issue that you're treating, and it depends on the person because people respond in different ways to therapy. But what I normally say to my clients is we sort of look at about 4 sessions, but we monitor it as we go along. So 4 to 6 sessions is normally about right, but it does vary from person to person.
Great. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
I used Nicole's hypnotherapy for my sleep problems, and it really did help. It was really lovely, relaxing recording that she did. So I'd highly recommend using hypnotherapy. So now over to Nigel.
Thank you, Sally. Thank you, Courtney and Nicole. Very interesting stuff. And yeah, as we've discussed before, this webinar, lots of interrelated things that we're talking about and how they support and complement each other. So yeah, I'm going to talk primarily about the breath, and I'll touch on forest bathing a little bit, and just say the breath is very much at the heart of everything we do, and yeah, it supports all these systems and functions. And so Sally, you're going to need to click as for my own control. Yeah, so some of the things we spoke about earlier that can come and go, and sometimes we're challenged, particularly when we're going through the menopause, are the ability to focus, that ability to be creative because we're in a space of relaxation and open-mindedness, the self-esteem that can sometimes go. Again, I think Sally and Courtney related to that. And then obviously all the physical aspects of our body, our breath works with all of those things, and down to the detail that Sally, if you could just click, please. All of these things, like the estrogen, has many functions across the body, mentally and physically. So the breaths can support all these things. So from the sleep through to helping keep up regulating our immune system, the endocrine system, and helping us manage those hormones, whether it's the estrogen or the progesterone, or indeed the insulins and cortisol levels that kick in, right through to helping us actually with our pelvic floor function and posture, because actually the The diaphragm muscle that you use during a good breathing practice, it's like any other muscle. If you don't use the diaphragm muscle, you lose it. You don't use it, you lose it. And the diaphragm muscle is a core muscle for helping us keep erect and having a really good posture throughout all our life, whether we're doing sporting activities or whether we're going through in later life and we're trying to maintain our bone density and our muscle strength. So right through to the other side, the emotional side, the thoughts and moods and anxiety and all that side of things as well. And the reason is, Sally, please, is that these three core systems all interrelate, and the breath has a key role to play in helping keep them together, as does diet and our ability to manage stress that we've been hearing earlier. But the limbic system, that controls all our emotions, how we store memories, how we maintain our homeostasis is key. Sally, please. And then obviously that's the female, because that's what we're mainly talking about tonight, the endocrine system. So the ability to manage the insulin, to manage the hormones, the cortisols, the estrogen, etc., are all related to, Sally, please. The thing we've spoken a lot about tonight, the autonomic nervous system. So this is a core part of that keeps our body working. And the key thing about the breath is, as Courtney particularly emphasized earlier, that if we get caught up in the sympathetic division branch of the autonomic nervous system, we're in a constant state of alert and stress. So things like our saliva dries up, we can't digest food properly, our heart rate increases, we actually send out too much insulin, etc. So that's often and when people who don't breathe very well, when we breathe in, we tend to stimulate the sympathetic system, which is something that we've needed. And again, we touched on earlier, we need to be alert, we need to be aware. Time's gone past, we need to be aware in case there was a saber-toothed tiger or a mammoth around the corner. These days, it's very often stimulated by the news, social media, people's energy around us, and we're constantly being pressured to be in that state. And if you're a poor breather, you breathe too fast with your chest, and you're in that state of stress, freeze or flight or fight far too often. So breathing, like lots of the other objectives of the other tools we've heard tonight, really is about trying to get us into the autonomic nervous system, the rest and digest part, the parasympathetic division. That's part of the autonomic nervous system. And the key thing to remember about breathing is that you really only stimulate the rest and the digestive part of our system when we breathe out. And if you take one thing away from my little bit tonight, is that you only heal and rest in the out breath. So that's why I work very hard with my clients to get them to spend more time in the out breath than in the in breath, because that's when your heart rate slows. That's when your body digests its food. That's just when everything just works so much better. And you allow your body to have those moments of rest and digest. So that's why it's really, really important. And I'll talk about breathing actually in a minute. Next slide. And of course, again, to touch on some of the slides, the vagus nerve, which is the main nerve system that corresponds and works with the autonomic nervous system and links to all parts of our body to allow everything else to work, has many ways of stimulating. So if your vagal nerve is not working very well, there's a number of ways to, and I've just listed some of them, and the ones that are highlighted are things that I specifically focus on, which is good breathing practice, meditation and mindfulness. I know some of you on this call practice quite a bit and actually teach it. And forest bathing, getting out into nature, being mindful, slowing down and letting nature and all the wonder of nature with the chemicals it releases and the way it connects with us do its magic. Next slide, please, Sally. So we've touched on here, to be honest with you, breathing's always a challenge through a woman's life, even during a menstrual cycle before menopause. It tends to be after the luteal phase, after the eggs moved from into the fallopian tube, but day 10 to day 12 on average. Breathing becomes a little bit trickier, and you can fall into poor habits because the estrogen goes down and progesterone actually is a challenge for breathing well. So even through, as soon as you start menstrual cycles at whatever age, 10, 12, 14, it can be a challenge and has an impact. And of course, the estrogen loss accentuates the breathing challenge, and a lot more related ones, such as their lung function. Our lungs decrease as we get older. Women have a 10% less smaller lungs than men on average anyway. But as we know, there's challenges on muscle and bone. I've spoken about the thorax movement, the actual movement, and the issue of the diaphragm muscle remaining strong, increased hyperventilation, and the challenge on sleep is not a small challenge, particularly if your breathing starts to go and your lungs start to deteriorate a little bit. So all of these things on here are things that happen, but breathing can help with many of them by working with those systems earlier, which help manage all the hormones, all our bodily and mental functions, alongside the other stuff that we're learning here about today, about how we manage stress through our body, how we manage nutrition, how we find ways of coping through hypnotherapy. So all these things work, and a breath is a real core tool to that. Sorry, Sally, just to move on. So to get to the core of what good breathing is and what bad breathing is, without being too judgmental, is that good breathing is through the nose and using the diaphragm. So I touched earlier, there's lots of reasons why the nasal breathing through the nose is better. One of them is cleansing whatever goes into your body to start with. It cleanses, it warms up, it adds nitric oxide, which is housed in your nasal passage, and that helps keep your cardiovascular system open. And the other thing about nasal breathing is that you take in the right amount of air. Believe it or not, breathing more air in actually ends up, as a physical thing, it ends up that you take in less oxygen into your lungs, and your oxygen exchange, the point you want your hemoglobin to pass the oxygen over, suffers. So I won't go too scientific on here, but mouth breathers, as you can see from there on the left-hand side, you're more likely to suffer from anxiety, panic attacks, and lack focus, because you're stimulating too much of the sympathetic side of your autonomic nervous system, and all those other things on the side are proven, and there's lots of research on this, that they are things you can suffer from, not just when you reach the menopause stage, but it just makes it harder, but through life really. And so adding breathing to your learning list of self-care tools, and it really is important that you, obviously we've spoken about, that you follow your heart's desires, you mix with people you love, you do the things you love, and you look after yourself through eating and sleeping, that. But breathing is a real core self-care tool as well that shouldn't be ignored. My clients, again, funny enough, it's 4 to 6, they average 5 sessions, and then they've got the tools for life. There's homework in between, but yeah, it can help them really overcome and have that tool within them, not even by their side. It's with them, within them, because our breath's always with us. So thank you for your time. I'll hand back to Sally now.
Oh, thank you so much, Nigel. Have you got a breathing technique that you can leave us with that we can all do?
Well, the most simple one, really, there's two, is just remember, is build up your awareness and keep your mouth shut. Your mouth is for eating, drinking, and communicating. It was never meant for breathing. And if you dig up skulls of hundreds of years ago, everyone's got square jaws, perfect teeth, and people in times gone past, post-industrialization, were able to breathe very, very well. So all I would say is that just breathe through the nose for a count of 4, ideally, and then breathe out for a count of 6, because we should breathe 6 times a minute. That's healthy. If you're under 10, it's not too bad. If you're over 10, you're really not helping yourself. And people tend to average 12 to 15. So there's quite a lot of the population don't breathe well. So yeah, just relax in through the nose, out through the nose. And if you can, put your hand on your bottom of your rib cage and really rewire that part of your brainstem that's got your breathing receptors in. Rewire and use your diaphragm and not your chest to trigger the breath in the first place. So hand on the diaphragm and then in and out of your nose, and do it your own time. And very much like I think it was Courtney earlier, if you lay on your bed at night and do that with your knees up, put your hand on your diaphragm, just feel the diaphragm rising as you breathe in and then falling back as you breathe out. That's a very good relaxation technique to help you sleep. So I'll just leave you at that with those thoughts.
Great, thank you so much. It's incredible, isn't it? Something as simple as breathing that we take for granted in terms of the power it can have over our health and how it can help us. Brilliant, thank you so much. So this is the last slide here. We've put all our website details on there. Please do connect. If you would like to connect with any of us for our particular therapies, then please do get in touch. We're all on socials as well as have our own websites. And if you've got questions, if you want to pop them in the chat box now, then we will go to our Q&A session. Either come off mute and we can have a discussion, or put the question in the chat box, whichever you prefer. Anybody have any questions for us? Are we able to get a copy of the slides? Yes, I'll double check with everybody afterwards, but we'll be sending out a recording as well. So tomorrow you'll get an email with the recording of this presentation. So that hopefully that'll be helpful. In terms of the slides themselves, I'll check with the others and we'll send out what we can. So question for Courtney, because we asked Nicole. So in terms of how many treatments you would need to get results, how many sort of sessions with you would you recommend?
For TRE, I'd say 4 to 6, ideally, just to understand how the tremor works in your body and just to feel okay with it. I mean, I laughed my whole way through that first 2 sessions because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm in control of everything I do, and now my body was just doing it. So it's just wonderful to experience and to understand how it works. So yes, and when you're feeling confident enough, then you can do it at home on your own, or you can just join a class. The choice is yours.
Great, thank you. And then question for all of you really, are there any sort of restrictions to your therapy? So is there any sort of conflict with any particular illnesses or any medication people might be taking?
I'd just come back on that. I would need a 15-minute kind of consultation with everybody I see, just in case. Obviously, you got to be very careful where people are pregnant, and that's not an issue necessary here. But yeah, and there are certain conditions and certain medicines that I would have, and conditions that I would have to be extra careful with. Just check through, and then I can adjust the program. Every program's personally done anyway, basically on people's ability. But yeah, I would need to have that conversation first.
Nicole, Courtney, do you have any?
Yeah, so for hypnotherapy, we always have a consultation beforehand and find out about each person's individual circumstances and check any health conditions. There's no real contraindications for hypnotherapy apart from psychosis. So it is contraindicated for psychosis because you don't quite know how the brain is going to react. But other than that, it's a very safe, relaxing therapy with no side effects.
Yeah, and for me, if I can answer that as well, also the same. I've got a medical indemnity that I just get my clients to fill out, just gives me background of where they're at and what they've been through in their life and what medication they're on. Obviously, when your nervous system does come down, sometimes the medication might need to be altered by your GP or whoever the practitioner is that you're working with. So it's good to be monitored. In terms of physical ability as well, just making sure that no one's had any operations or stitches or anything within the last 6 weeks. So generally we wait till after that. But it's safe for anyone to do from toddlers all the way through to centenaries or whatever age. So old and grey as well, all good in between.
Great, thank you. So just to end up, don't have any more questions on the chat. Just to finish with, do you all want to give your 2 top tips for your area in terms of managing menopause?
Shall I go first? I've got my mic off, I've noticed.
Yeah, go for it.
Sure. Yeah, the first one is just really to be aware of your breathing and notice what triggers it. If it's certain foods that cause you to feel slightly tighter in the chest, or is it certain people or certain situations? So yeah, and go to that calm, relaxed place that Nicole spoke about and do it with a calm breath. On that, yeah, I would just say take the holistic approach, the exercise, the nutrition, the eating windows, nature, doing things you love, people with you love. Just take that holistic self-care approach, and you'll find the things that work and they'll complement each other. And yeah, have that self-care top of mind. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Nigel. Courtney?
Yeah, I think a big one for me is stimulants, especially when we live in a world where coffee and caffeinated drinks, teas, chocolate, all of that, as delicious as they are, it does affect your nervous system and does put extra stress on the adrenals and the kidneys. And you'll feel a spike in that energy, which is great, but we're not supposed to be running at that level all the time. So it does have a knock-on effect. So I would avoid stimulants and rather opt for like a chamomile tea or herbal tea or things like that. And also, like Nigel said, just awareness is key, and just tuning into your body, being in the present moment and not letting the mind think or worry too much about what the future holds, and also what's happened in the past. By staying present really helps the body and de-stress.
Yeah, amazing. And Nicole?
So yeah, I think one of the things I would say is be kind to yourself. Don't beat yourself up. If you're going through menopause, you're going through so many changes and so much stuff is happening, and it's really easy to kind of berate yourself for having brain fog or not being able to sleep or feeling stressed, and that will just give you more stress. So just really kind of accept that this is a difficult time, and be kind to yourself, and don't beat yourself up for going through the symptoms. And my other tip is kind of alongside what we've all been saying, but learn to relax. Really take the time out to relax, to let your mind and your body relax. We've shared lots of different ways of doing that, and there's some great ideas there from Courtney and Nigel, and from you, Sally, that I'm definitely going to take on board. But find the thing that works for you. And that could be doing a guided meditation or listening to a relaxing download, or doing some mindfulness, but allow yourself to relax. Take time out every day to really relax your system down, your mind and your body.
Great, thank you. And from my perspective as a health coach, I think, nutrition is so important for both stress and also for your menopause symptoms, because if as Courtney said, if you're putting a lot of stimulants in your body, a lot of processed foods, alcohol, etc., then that's actually causing more stress on the body. And we've talked about, how stress and cortisol make your menopause symptoms worse. So try to have a balanced, nutritious diet, densely nutritious diet. So Mediterranean diet is a great place to start, in terms of plenty of fruits and vegetables, fish, healthy fats, loads of whole grains, really delicious whole foods, and try to limit the amount of sort of processed foods and alcohol that you are having. And finding balance, it is all about balance, whether that's balance in your nutrition or whether it's balance in your movement and relaxation, because I think that's really important as well. We've talked about the importance of relaxation, but it's just as important to move your body as well. And that's not, over the top aggressive intense exercise, because that again can put stressors on the body, but it's finding exercise where you're moving your body, strengthening your body, because that's really critical during the menopause years for your muscle strength, your bone, your health, and reducing your cortisol levels. So things like, walking, brisk walking, yoga, Pilates, weights are really important. Fantastic ways to keep fit, but also to manage your stress levels as well. Great. So
just
thank you.
One more I was thought of actually, Sally, was actually when you get the replay of this, sit down with, you've got a partner, and sit down with your sons and daughters, because for them to understand is key, but also they'll benefit by sharing the kind of lifestyle that you may well be putting together, because this kind of lifestyle is not just for when we're certain ages. They'll all benefit. So
absolutely, it supports a long, healthy life for everybody in the family, not just specifically menopause. 100%. Great. Well, thank you so much for everybody for joining. I will be sending out the replay tomorrow, and yes, you'll be getting emails from each of us from our respective areas. And do connect with us on socials and take a look at our websites. We'd love to be able to support you on your menopause journey and help you to ease your symptoms. So thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Just stop the record.